In previous lectures, we used for loops to pass over the characters of strings and the items in lists. In this lecture, we are going to use for loops to pass over the indices of strings and lists, and this will allow us to solve problems that we can't currently solve using for loops. The first problem that we'll tackle is to count the number of neighboring pairs of characters that are the same within a string. So here's an example string. And in this string, there are 3 pairs of neighboring characters that are the same: the C's, the F's, and the G's. In order to solve this problem, we need to compare neighboring pairs of characters. So the string at index 0 needs to be compared with the string at index 1. The string at index 1 must be compared with the string at index 2. And so on until we reach the second last character, the string at index -2, and we compare it with the last character of the string at index -1. Generally speaking, we can describe this as comparing the string at index I with the string at index I plus 1. We'll use the range function to generate these numbers: 0, 1, up to and including -2, so the I values in our comparison. As a reminder, range has 3 parameters, 1 required and 2 optional. The required parameter is the value at which we want to stop the sequence, and optionally we can also provide the start and the step. In this case, the start we want is 0, which is the default, and the step is 1, which is also the default. So we only need to use the stop. And we want to stop at the length of the string -1. In other words, we want to go up to and including length of the string -2, or the second last character of the string. And we indicate this using length of string -1, up to but not including that value. And then the values, or the indices, are printed. Now that we've written this for loop, we're going to use the same header in our function to count the repeated pairs of characters in the string. The function that we're writing is count adjacent repeats. It has a single string parameter and returns an int. And when we call the function passing the example string as an argument, the function should return 3. For this function, we need to keep track of how many repeated characters we've seen. So I'm going to use a variable named repeats to do that, and repeats will have an initial value of 0. We want to go over the characters of the string, pass over them, and we need to use their indices this time. We wrote this for loop header already. We're starting at index 0 and going up to the second last character of the string. In the body of the for loop, we want to compare the character at position s at index I with the one that comes after it to see whether they are equal. So we can use the equality operator for this, comparing s at index I with s at index I plus 1. When they are equal, we found one of these adjacent repeats, so the repeats variable should be increased by 1. At the end of the loop, after it has exited, we can return the value that repeats refers to. Finally, let's just run this function call to ensure that it's working as expected. To do that, I need to execute or run the module. And now we can call the function, and it returns 3 as expected. So to summarize, it's because of the fact that we want to compare an element of the list with another element in the list that we are using the indices. It's not enough to know what the value of the item is. We need to know where the item is in the list in order to determine which other element to compare it with. To gain a better understanding of what's happening when this code executes, we'll trace it using the Python visualizer. The first time I hit forward, the function definition is evaluated, and we're taken to line 19, where I've put a call to the function using a slightly smaller example. When the function is called, the parameter s refers to the string ACCFFH, which we passed as an argument to the function. After line 11 has executed, repeats refers to the value 0. On line 13 is the first line of the for loop. I will get the initial value of 0. I initially refers to 0. And the if condition is first checked. So s at I, s at 0 is A, is compared with s at I plus 1, s at 1, which is C. These characters are not equal, so the body of the for loop is not executed. We move on and increment I. So I gets the next value that range generates, which is 1. Now, I refers to 1, and s at 1 is compared with s at 2. Because the characters here are equal, the body of the if is executed, and repeats will be increased by 1. Repeats now refers to the value 1, and I gets the next value that range generates, which is 2. The string at index 2 is compared with the string at index 3, and they are not equal, so the body of the if is not executed. We advance to the for loop header again, and I will be the next value that range generates. I refers to 3. The string at index 3 is compared with the string at index 4. Those two characters are equal, so the body of the if is executed this time. Repeats is increased by 1, so repeats now refers to the value 2, and I advances to the next value, which is 4. The string at index 4 is not equal to the string at index 5, so the body of the if won't be executed. And notice that this is the last pair of characters that we need to compare. So when the string at index -2, or the second last character of the string, is reached, that will be the last iteration of the for loop. We reach the header one more time, and there are no more numbers generated by range. So after this, Python advances to line 17. The value to be returned is the value of repeats, which is 2, and that is returned and then printed on line 19.